Right now, as you watch this, there is roughly a 1 in 3 chance that a cat over the age of 10 is quietly losing the use of one of its most vital organs and showing no sign of it at all. By the time most owners notice something is wrong, around 2/3 of that organ is already destroyed, gone, never coming back. It is the leading medical killer of older cats, and it is so silent that the average cat is not diagnosed until it is dangerously far along. But here's the part that should give you hope, and the reason I am making this video. There is now a simple blood test that can catch this disease up to 17 months earlier than the old methods, and catching it early can add more than 3 years to your cat's life. I am Dr. Tran, your neighborhood vet, and today we are talking about chronic kidney disease, the silent killer hiding in millions of cats. I am going to show you why it is so sneaky, the early signs almost everyone misses, the one test you must ask your vet for, and exactly how early action can buy your cat years. Stay with me, because this is the conversation that saves cats. Let me start with the kidneys themselves, because once you understand what they do, you understand why this disease is so devastating. The kidneys are your cat's filtration system. Every minute of every day, they clean the blood, pulling out toxins and waste and sending them out in the urine while balancing water, salts, and minerals and helping make red blood cells and control blood pressure. They are quiet, tireless, and absolutely essential. And here is the cruel design flaw. The kidneys have a huge amount of reserve capacity, which sounds like a good thing, but it is exactly why this disease hides. A cat can lose more than half of its kidney function and still look, eat, and act completely normal. The remaining tissue simply works harder to cover the loss, so the damage builds silently, for months, sometimes years, with no outward sign. By the time a cat finally looks sick, roughly 2/3 or more of the kidney is already gone, and that tissue does not grow back. This is why chronic kidney disease is the master of disguise, and why so many cats are caught late. Now the numbers, because they are sobering, and they are the reason every cat owner needs to hear this. Chronic kidney disease affects somewhere between 20 and 50% of cats over the age of 10. And in cats 15 and older, some studies put that figure as high as 80%. 80%. Let that sink in. If you are lucky enough to have an older cat, the odds that their kidneys are struggling are very real. This is not a rare, unlucky diagnosis. For senior cats, it is closer to the rule than the exception. And yet most owners have never even heard of the test that could catch it early, which is exactly the gap I want to close today. So what are the early signs, the whispers before the disease shouts? They are subtle, and they are easy to explain away as just getting older. The first and most common is increased thirst and increased urination. As the failing kidneys lose the ability to concentrate urine, your cat pees out more water and drinks more to keep up. So you find yourself refilling the water bowl more often, or finding bigger, heavier clumps in the litter box. Most people see this as nothing. It is often the very first clue. Next comes a slow, gradual weight loss, the kind that creeps up so slowly you do not notice until you pick them up one day and think, when did you get so light? Then a fussier appetite, a cat that walks away from food it used to love, sometimes with nausea or the occasional vomit. A dull, unkempt coat, because a sick cat grooms less and the body diverts resources away from a shiny coat, and a quiet drop in energy, more sleeping, less play. Any one of these, especially in a cat over 7, deserves a closer look. Together, they are your cat trying to tell you something. Now here is the breakthrough. The single most important thing I will say today, so let it land. For decades, the standard kidney test was a blood value called creatinine. The problem with creatinine is that it does not rise above the normal range until about 75% of kidney function is already lost. 75%. By the time creatinine looks abnormal, most of the kidney is already gone. But there is now a newer, more sensitive blood test called SDMA. And SDMA starts to rise when only about 25 to 40% of kidney function has been lost, far, far earlier. In long-term studies, SDMA climbed above normal an average of 17 months before creatinine did. 17 months of advance warning. That is the difference between catching this disease as it begins versus after the damage is done. So here's what I want you to do. The next time your cat has blood work, especially a senior cat, ask your vet, by name, to include an SDMA test. It is widely available now, and it could be the most important number on the whole panel. And why does catching it early matter so much? Because of a number that genuinely changed how I practice. Studies have shown that when you start kidney support early, at the point SDMA reaches about 15 or creatinine reaches about 1.6, with the right diet and treatment, you can extend a cat's life expectancy by over 1,100 days. 1,100 days. That is more than 3 years of extra life, simply from catching it early and acting. 3 more years of your cat on the windowsill, in your lap, at the foot of your bed. That is what early detection buys, and it is why I will not let an owner leave my office thinking a yearly senior blood test is optional. So once it is caught, how do we fight it? The cornerstone, the single most proven treatment, is diet. A prescription renal diet is specially formulated to take strain off the kidneys, and it is one of the few interventions actually shown to extend survival and improve quality of life in cats with kidney disease. The key reason is a mineral called phosphorus. As the kidneys fail, they cannot clear phosphorus, and it builds up in the blood, which both makes the cat feel terrible and actively speeds the kidney's own decline in a vicious cycle. Renal diets are low in phosphorus, which breaks that cycle, and if diet alone is not enough, your vet can add a phosphate binder to mop up the rest. That one mineral, controlled, can change the entire trajectory of the disease. Beyond diet, the rest of management is about supporting those struggling kidneys every day. Water is everything, because these cats lose so much of it. Feed wet food, place several water bowls around the home, and add a cat fountain, because moving water draws cats to drink, and hydration directly protects the kidneys. For some cats, your vet may teach you to give fluids under the skin at home, which sounds scary but becomes routine and makes a huge difference. There are medications, like a class called angiotensin receptor blockers, that protect the kidney and manage the high blood pressure that often rides along with this disease. And there is monitoring, regular rechecks of those blood values so your vet can adjust the plan as things change. None of this cures the disease, because lost kidney tissue is gone for good. But all of it, together, slows it down, keeps your cat comfortable, and stretches the good years. Let me tell you about a cat named Smokey, because he is why I push the SDMA test so hard. Smokey was 11, looked perfectly healthy, and his owner almost skipped the senior blood work that year because, in her words, he seemed fine. We ran it anyway, and his SDMA was creeping up while his creatinine was still completely normal. Early-stage kidney disease, caught at the very beginning, in a cat with 0 symptoms. We started a renal diet, added water habits, and began monitoring. Smokey is now past 14, still bossing the household around, with kidney values we have held steady for years. Had we waited for symptoms, we would have met this disease 2/3 of the way through its damage instead of at the start. That blood test gave Smokey years. It can do the same for your cat. Let me say a word about who gets this and why. Because people always ask if they did something wrong. Usually, they did not. The single biggest risk factor is simply age, the slow wear of a hard-working organ over many years. Some breeds, like Persians and Abyssinians, carry a higher genetic risk. Certain things can speed it along, like chronic dehydration, high blood pressure, and even untreated dental disease, where mouth bacteria constantly seeping into the bloodstream adds strain to the kidneys, which is one more reason that clean mouth I keep preaching about matters. Past urinary infections or toxin exposures can play a role too. But for most cats, this is not about blame. It is about time. Which means the right response is not guilt, it is vigilance. It also helps to understand that this disease moves in stages, because that is how your vet will talk about it. Veterinarians use a simple 4-stage system. In stage 1 and stage 2, the early stages, your cat usually looks and feels completely normal. And this is the golden window, the place where that SDMA test catches things and where early action buys the most time. By stage 3, the visible signs start. The thirst, the weight loss, the poor appetite, because now enough function is lost that the body can no longer hide it. Stage 4 is advanced disease, requiring intensive support. Here is the lesson in those stages. Almost everything good happens when you catch the disease in stage 1 or 2, before the symptoms, and almost every heartbreak comes from meeting it in stage 3 or 4, after. The whole game is about moving your cat's diagnosis earlier on that ladder. Let me also be honest about what living with a kidney cat actually looks like, because the diagnosis sounds scarier than the daily reality. For most cats in the early and middle stages, life is genuinely good. You switch the food, you make water easy and everywhere. You do a recheck a couple of times a year, and your cat goes on being your cat. As things progress, your vet may add a phosphate binder mixed into the food, a medication for blood pressure or to protect the kidney, and an appetite stimulant or anti-nausea medicine on the days your cat feels picky, because feeling sick to the stomach is a big reason these cats stop eating, and keeping them eating is half the battle. Some owners learn to give fluids under the skin at home a few times a week, and I will tell you, the owners who dread it most are almost always the ones who, a month later, say it became a quiet 2-minute routine that gave their cat its energy back. None of it is as frightening as it sounds. It is just steady, loving maintenance. And I want to put the emotional truth on the table, because it matters. A kidney diagnosis is not the end. It is information, and information is power. The cats who do worst are the ones whose disease was invisible until a crisis. The cats who do best belong to owners who caught it early, made a few simple changes, and partnered with their vet to stay ahead of it. I have watched cats live 5, 6, even 7 good years past an early diagnosis, purring on laps the whole way. The number on the blood test does not define how much love and life is left. How early you find it, and how you respond, does. Claude. Since water is so central to this fight, let me give you a real hydration playbook, because telling a cat to drink more is easier said than done. Cats evolved from desert animals and have a naturally low thirst drive, so we have to make water irresistible. First, lean heavily on wet food, because canned food can be 70 to 80% water, and for a kidney cat, that is hydration smuggled in with every meal. Second, scatter water stations around the house, not just one bowl by the food, because cats often prefer to drink away from where they eat. Third, get a cat fountain, because the sound and movement of running water tempts many cats to drink far more than they would from a still bowl. Fourth, use wide, shallow bowls so their sensitive whiskers do not brush the sides, a small thing that genuinely stops some cats from drinking. And fifth, you can add a little water or a low-sodium, vet-approved broth to their food to sneak in even more. Every extra sip is a gift to those kidneys. A quick, honest word on the renal diet, because this is where many owners stumble. These diets are proven to extend life, but they only work if your cat actually eats them, and cats are famously stubborn about new food, so do not switch cold turkey. Transition slowly over 1 to 2 weeks, mixing a little more of the new food into the old each day, and warm the wet food slightly to bring out the aroma, because smell drives a cat's appetite. If your cat flatly refuses one renal diet, ask your vet about another, because there are several brands and textures, and the best renal diet in the world does nothing sitting in the bowl untouched. Patience here pays off in years, and let me leave you with the cadence I want every senior cat owner to follow, because it is simple. From age 7, a full wellness exam and blood panel with SDMA once a year. From age 10 or 11, make it twice a year, because at that age, things can change in months, not years. Weigh your cat at home now and then, because steady weight loss is often the earliest red flag you can catch yourself. And keep an eye on that water bowl and litter box, because you, the person who sees your cat every single day, are the best early warning system that exists. Your vet runs the tests, but you notice the change first. Before I let you go, let me bust the myths that cost cats their lives. Myth 1, my cat seems totally healthy, so the kidneys are fine. You now know the cruelest truth of this disease, that a cat can lose most of its kidney function and still seem perfectly normal. Healthy looking is not the same as healthy. Myth 2, kidney disease is a death sentence. It is not. It cannot be cured, but caught early and managed well, cats live good, happy years with it. Myth 3, the yearly senior vet visit is a waste if nothing is wrong. That visit, and that blood test, is precisely how you find the thing that has no symptoms yet. And myth 4, only ancient cats get this. The risk climbs with age, yes, but it can begin earlier, which is why 7 is when I start watching closely. So here is what I am asking you to do. If your cat is 7 or older, get them a senior wellness blood panel and specifically ask for the SDMA test by name. If you have noticed more thirst, more urination, a little weight loss, or a fading coat, do not wait. Get them seen now. And whatever their age, protect those kidneys every day with good hydration and the right food. This is a disease that wins by staying hidden. The single most powerful thing you can do is drag it into the light early, while you still have every option and years still on the table. If this opened your eyes, do me one small favor and tap the like button, because it genuinely helps me reach other cat owners whose cats may be hiding this right now. Hit subscribe so you never miss our cat health deep dives, and tell me in the comments, how old is your cat, and have they had an SDMA test yet? I read every single one. Until next time, give your cat fresh water